Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Alex King. Today is Thursday, May the 2nd, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 1 p.m. in London, and I believe it's, well, I forget what time it is. I didn't do my check on Sydney, but Sydney, whatever time it is, I hope it's a great time of day for you. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And we're happy to be able to broadcast at all, to do a podcast at all, because we've been having all kinds of trouble with Zoom and live streaming to YouTube and live streaming to Facebook. It seems that live streaming is not our friend this week. Hopefully Zoom is going to get that fixed very, very soon, and then we'll be able to get back to chatting with our friends live while we do the show, because that's half the fun doing it. Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Having those interactions. That makes it really, really interesting. So, I've been missing it. I need talk about having a daily dose of happy. I'm also used to our daily dose of chatting, and I miss it, you know?
Yeah, we need it in our lives, yeah.
We do. Socialization is very important. Mm-hmm. Now, they also, you'll notice that Joel is not joining us today. That's because he has a prior engagement that kind of got in the way of doing the show today. But he plans to be back next week. So we're just going to hold down the fort and do our thing without him and look forward to talking to him next week. Yeah. I always love talking to Joel. He is so much fun.
Yeah.
Doesn't he have the best stories? I mean, just absolutely.
He's got the best stories, the best personality. He's so cool.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. He's wonderful. So we wish him well as he deals with his stuff that he's doing today, and then we'll be talking to him next week. So let's see. Now, the good news is we're only about 2 minutes into it, but so far I haven't seen the message pop up saying that we lost the connection to Facebook. So we're still connected. This is a good thing.
We're going to stay connected. That's how it's going to be.
We're going to stay connected? Well, I like that. I hope that really is true. So while we're attempting to stay connected, what are we going to talk about today? I mean, we so often play off of what our live stream listeners come up with, you know, what their questions and topics are. We don't have that, so we're on our own in a sense. Unless the Can we handle it? Oh, no.
You shouldn't leave us alone in a room together. Oh, no.
True enough. Well, actually, we were talking before the podcast started that we have, after a bit of a vacation, we have gotten back to working on the script for the audio play.
Yep.
I'm realizing that I need to just set aside chunks of time, because I've been trying to do it like, okay, I'll get this other stuff done, and then I'll work on the play. And I never get to the play because I never stuff other, and the other stuff never gets done. There's like an endless supply of it, you know. So I have to like just set aside a chunk of time, because really what we need to do, we have two things left, don't we? We have to kind of trim it down, pull out stuff so that it's down to like, 22, 23, 24 minutes, something like that.
Well, I pulled out a lot of stuff yesterday, the whole, in the Lexi, Nance conversation. Because once we added the stuff we wanted to add, a lot of the other stuff didn't make sense. So I had to trim some of that down. Good.
Okay. So that eliminates that task. Then the only thing left is to go through and start hooking everything.
Yep.
Which basically means just going in and finding every 30 seconds or so someplace to either have a little mini crisis or something to laugh at or something to just kind of break up the flow of it. Like, why is it that car keeps pulling in front of me? Stuff like that. What is this, road rage mode or something like that? What's going on here?
Road rage mode. Oh, goodness.
Maybe he's rolling down his window.
Must be in Massachusetts.
Yes, Boston residents can send their cards and letters to Alex.
Listen, I am from Massachusetts, so I can say that.
You can say that, yes. I can't. I'm from Connecticut. We're the poor, wicked stepsister of Massachusetts, so...
Oh, my God.
The good news is we're in a very happy mood. We've just got ourselves, laughing and rollicking and so forth.
Yep.
And that's actually the main topic. I mean, law of attraction is all about getting into that really good feeling place and milking it and turning it into feeling better and better and better.
Exactly.
I've been noticing lately that I have, the emotional scale that Abraham Hicks put together, the 22-step scale.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've been at about number 3 a lot of the time lately.
Okay.
Which is, 3 from the top. That's pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that not only have I been there lately, but it used to be I was quite a bit further down as my norm. My norm was somewhere in the middle there. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like I'm just like a couple steps away from feeling joyous all the time.
Yeah.
And like, wow, the goal is within sight.
Yeah. That's always a good feeling.
It is a good feeling. And you know what? I'm actually trying to challenge in one sense. I mean, this isn't my main motivation, but one of my sort of minor motivations is to challenge the notion that you can't be happy all the time.
I'm mostly happy all the time. So
yeah, I think you can. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like every time I bring that up, even with other co-hosts, it's like people say, well, contrast happens and, bad things happen.
Yeah, but it's how you choose to deal with it.
Exactly.
Like a lot of stuff happens and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I'm deciding not to subscribe to this depression today. Like that's just, I'm canceling it. So.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, it's so critical. It's all about, and I think they would all agree with this too, by the way. I don't mean that. Yeah. But it's all about how we react to the stuff that happens.
Right. Right.
If somebody steals your dog or steals your cat, are you going to turn that into an epic moment that is just going to keep resonating for weeks on end and produce more epic moments of the same kind? Or are you going to find some way to make peace and hopefully find the cat and the dog?
Right. I was going to say find the dog, yeah.
I mean, I certainly don't want to just abandon the cat or the dog, but...
Yeah, you don't just want to throw your hands up in the air and go, well, it happens.
It happens, yeah. It happens, and, and as long as I don't give any emotional power to it, it won't keep happening.
Right.
That's the thing. We give so much emotional power.
I have trouble with that. It's part of an autism trait. So the other day, when things change suddenly for me, I can't handle it. Like I can't deal. I don't know. And it affects me emotionally. Like my, I have a nurse that comes every day. So my usual nurse, Mike, is the guy that comes every day. So I'm used to him and I've had him for years. And then, some strange lady showed up at my house the other day and I was like, where's Mike? Like, not to be rude, but who are you?
Yeah, right.
And she's like, oh, I'll be taking over for Mike for the rest of the week. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? So I instantly start crying because I can't handle stuff like that. Like you can't pull the rug from under me. I'm not one of those people. And I was like, so then, I immediately, once she left and I stopped crying, I called Mike and I was like, hey, who's this stranger in my house today? And he was like, oh, I told you last week. No, sir, you didn't. Cause I was like, if I was prepared, that'd be one thing. But it turns out it was a miscommunication. She was only there for one day. And
so
yeah.
Cause she didn't have the right information.
Yeah. She was like, oh, I'm going to be here Monday through Friday. And I was like, no, I don't know you, stranger danger. I don't like it. So.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, I was shut down for the rest of the day. Like I couldn't. I was like, no, why? How would they do this to me? They know I can't deal with stuff like this. Like it's happened before where they changed nurses on me and I had to call headquarters and be like, listen, you can't do that to me. I can't handle it. And they would send the nurse back. Like, like, I'm so sorry. We forgot who it was. My bad.
So let's pretend for a moment that you don't have the diagnosed conditions, the anxiety and all that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's pretend that we're just dealing with it as straight law of attraction, deliberate career stuff.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you think of that you could have done or that you could do going forward to help you find a better feeling place with that?
I probably, hindsight being 2020, I could have probably been like, you know what? Nope, I don't subscribe to this nurse and Mike will be back.
That's a good place.
Yeah.
Especially if you could feel that.
Right.
Because that's where the power is.
In the moment, I was like, I was like ugly crying. It was so bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, emotions are powerful. They truly are powerful. And it comes down to whether or not we're going to be in control of them, of course. Who's in control? Are the emotions in control of me, or am I in control of the emotions? And
well, that's the thing. Normally I'm in control, but like when things like that happen, I can't do it. Well, it's probably because I keep saying I can't do it.
Well, I can tell you one good thing. And it's not directly related to what we were just talking about, but there is one good thing. Our Facebook live stream is still going.
Nice.
Maybe they fixed some of this. They haven't fixed all of it because we tried live streaming to YouTube first, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're not losing it on Facebook, that's something. That's worth celebrating.
Well, I told you we were going to stay on, so.
There it is. And you believed it, and you felt it.
Yeah. Plus, I'm always right, so duh.
No, that's worth remembering, actually.
Yeah.
The fact that you're always right.
Yeah. Oh, I remind people on the daily.
No, but I mean reminding yourself.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of the time, yeah. I'm like, you know what? Oh, this came true because I'm always right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So if another nurse shows up, you can say to yourself, well, I know my nurse is coming back because I'm always right.
Yes. Yes. It'll be a 30-second breakdown, but after the 30 seconds, I'll be fine.
30 seconds is a whole lot better than a full day. I mean, that's like a full day, you know? Just think of the time savings. Yeah.
Yeah. My poor mom video chatted me from work, and she was like, are you still depressed? I was like, yes, I'm in bed.
By the way, Kevin posted a note. He says, Alex, I go through the same thing with change, but I get mad.
Oh, I was mad but when after I spoke to him, I was like, okay. He kind of calmed me down by saying, no, I'll be back. And I was like, oh, all right. Don't do that again.
Don't do it again. Yes. I may be responsible for my feelings, but don't do it again.
Yeah. Do not let this happen.
Do not let it happen. That's right. I'm warning you.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the other piece of news, I don't know if you noticed, I have a new webcam, so I'm trying to...
Oh, do you? Yeah, is that why you look up? Yeah, I noticed there was a different angle.
Yeah, the angle's a little bit different.
Yeah.
The color's a little bit crisper, the line's a little bit crisper, so it's a higher resolution cam. So, yeah.
Cool.
If people are going to have to look at me, they might as well look at something that's fairly decent, you know?
Well, if that's the case, you may want the camera to be a little less quality then, so it's a little cloudier.
I tried that theory. That's the first one I had was the one that was built into the laptop, which really...
Oh, they suck.
Really terrible.
They suck so bad. That's why I don't use Zoom on my laptop, because I'm like, I can't even see what I'm seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the theory sounds good in theory, but when you actually try it in practice, it really... Because in the middle of the screen, what's that blob doing anyway?
Yeah, it's like I see it moving, but I don't know what it's cute. You're cute, but I don't know what you're saying.
Oh, goodness. So let's see. What do we have going on here? Just says, if been giving myself a minute, I repeat I am in my head. It seems to center me, and the outcome has been better. Yeah, that makes sense. That ties into what Cindy Chavez and I were talking about yesterday. Cindy and I do the Neville studies.
Right. Neville Day, yep.
Neville Day, every single Wednesday. And I am is a big, big part of what Neville teaches. That I am is a very powerful way to start anything when you're trying to...
Now explain the I am.
In a nutshell, if you start a thought process of any kind with the idea of I am, you are basically setting yourself up to be what we Abraham type followers would call the best manifester you can be.
Okay.
Neville doesn't call it manifesting. He doesn't use that word very much.
Right.
But that's what it amounts to. And that I am statement is an extremely powerful way of reinforcing that you are God, that you are the God of your life.
Okay.
And that when you start with the I am place, you are acknowledging your consciousness. You're acknowledging your soul. You're acknowledging that everything that you decide to focus on is what ends up happening in your life. So it's a very empowering position. And there's something psychologically powerful about just stating I am and just saying I am and feeling that I am.
Yeah.
In fact, if you start with I am and then you follow it up with I am Walt or I am walking or whatever, but starting with just I am and then following up with something like that, that alone starts to give you a sense of control.
Okay.
A sense of power, a sense of belief in yourself, confidence, all that stuff starts to build up. So I am is an extremely powerful way to just start thought process.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Neville is very much one who emphasizes the feeling associated with it. As Cindy points out, the phrase that she and I like to focus on, that is a Neville phrase, is assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, when you want to attract something into your life, live it with feeling, with gusto, as if you are in the scene, as if it's part of your actual life, because as it is part of your mental life, it does become part of your actual life.
I find that really hard to do. I've been trying that the last week, and I tried to say things in past tense as if they've already happened, but it's confusing grammatically.
Exactly. No, I wouldn't do it as past tense.
Okay.
It's present tense because it's about the now. But you're right. When you focus on trying to live in the past, it gets confusing because on subconscious level or even on a conscious level that you're living in the present.
Right.
So your mind rebels against that.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So it's like if you were going to go climb a ladder or if you were going to walk upstairs or if you were going to just take a walk down the road, you wouldn't say, I was going down the road.
Right.
You'd say, I am going down the road. I'm walking down the road right now. So tell your stories that way, as if it were happening right now.
Yeah.
Abraham
I was thinking like, well, after I have already walked down the road, and that didn't sit well with me. So I was like, I don't like it.
You're not living with it right now. It's not
okay. So
right now.
to stay in
the idea is you want to experience it in your mind right now, and if you experience it right now, that's the power. That's where the power of pulling.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So if you are walking down the road and you're thinking to yourself, I am walking down the road.
Right.
Now you're doing a physical thing. Okay. Now turn it into a mental exercise, like an imagining thing. You're sitting in your chair, but you in your mind, you feel yourself. You can feel your imaginary legs walking down the road.
Yeah.
Now you are starting to build that scene.
Okay.
It's kind of like what Abraham calls the wouldn't it be nice if process.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be nice if is a way of putting yourself into the present and saying, wow, I would love to have this happen right now. I would love to have that happen right now. Yeah. Well, Neville takes it a step further and says, put yourself in that scene. I am experiencing this right now. I am doing this right now. I am feeling this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when we do that, I mean, like Abraham points out, when we focus on something and we continue to focus on it, even if at the very beginning we don't have a whole lot of feeling associated with it, the feeling is there. It's just very, very much turned down.
Right.
When we first think something, the amount of feeling associated with it in most cases is pretty darn small. It's not zero. It's never zero, but it's very, very small.
Right.
And as we stay with that thought process, it gets bigger and bigger. And by it, I mean the emotional feeling associated with it gets bigger and bigger. So when you start with the I am, which is a very empowering position, and then I am X, whatever X is that you're trying to imagine, and you're putting yourself into that scene and playing out that scene in your mind, the more that you do that, the more that the feeling associated with it builds up. And as it builds up, it becomes more and more real. And as Neville says, it hardens into reality the more that you stick with it.
Yeah.
So that's the process.
Cool.
And I had a conversation with someone on Facebook who was a Neville follower. I joined a Neville group.
Oh, nice.
And Neville people have a very different way of looking at law of attraction from Abrahamers or from other people in LOA circles.
Well, that makes sense.
Well, first of all, they don't think about it as law of attraction. The terminology is different.
Ah.
They also have, I can't characterize it yet. The mindset is a very different mindset. That's the best I can say at this point.
Okay.
But when you're talking with them, you know how on Facebook, if you express something in a way that clearly kind of undermines what you're trying to do, especially if you're posting asking for help, everybody will jump in and say, well, no, what you really need to do is this, what you really need to do.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing happens there, not surprisingly.
Of course.
And when you do it there, I think this is actually true in both cases. There is what I would call a motto, MOTO, which stands for Method of the Organization, but it's sort of an acronym that means a way of speaking. It's kind of like a private language.
Okay.
Culture. You know, kids have that growing up, right? You know, kids in school have their own private language so that the adults don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. Well, the same thing happens in these various self-help groups associated with LOA. And in each of the cases, they express their little critiques of what people post using the perspective of that language, that way of expressing things. So if you don't know the language, it can actually be pretty confusing. Right. That's something I've noted not only in, like, I've seen it in Law of Attraction Change My Life group. I've seen it in the Abraham Vortex group. I've seen it in the Baby Elephant group. And I'm also now seeing it in the Neville groups.
What's the Baby Elephant group? That sounds adorable.
It was created by a woman named Leor, what's her name? Alexander, I think it is, who lives in California. And she does a lot of YouTube stuff. And then she created the group as kind of a way to carry on the discussions related to the videos that she posts on YouTube.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And she has her own thing that she teaches. She's the one who teaches. Have you heard the 5x55 method? She's the one who teaches that one.
Okay.
She teaches the 2 cups method and some others that I can't even tell you what they are because I haven't followed them all. But she has her own methods that she teaches. That's just another group where you have to know their motto. You have to know their language. If you don't know the language, it gets confusing. And this is kind of like the topic I was engaging in with this Neville person, because someone had posted something. They said, I can't seem to get anywhere. I don't like the situation I'm in with my husband or whatever it was. And what I really want is I want people to go away. And I swear about half the respondents said, well, why don't you say what you want? Well, she did.
Yeah.
I want people to go away. But they didn't see it that way. And it's understandable. I mean, that's kind of an inverted way of saying it. I mean, we understand, from an Abraham point of view, we understand you want to say it positively in terms of what you want, not negatively in terms of what you don't want. But for somebody who isn't up on that, that's really confusing to say, well, you're not saying what you want, because they did. They thought they did.
Right.
So my point is, I think it's really important anytime that we're responding to anybody on any of these groups to stop and think for a moment the way the person who is posting is thinking and understand that, and then help them understand the parts of the language that they're missing. Because otherwise, it's like this.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help anybody.
I had that almost same conversation with a friend of mine the other day. He was explaining to me, we were talking about relationships, and he was explaining to me about this chick he's talking to, and he's like, and I thought about it the other day, and you ask a lot of weird questions. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, I said something, and you were like, but why would she do that? And I noticed that you seem to forget that not every woman is like you. So there are people out there that do dumb stuff. And I was like, true. So, I got to take that into context. Like, there are people out there doing things that I wouldn't do. So, yeah.
I've been aware of that for a long time.
Yeah. I just don't notice it when I say it in conversation. I'm just like, but why?
Well, Louise and I were actually talking about that the other day. We went out to dinner, and during dinner, I don't remember why, but the conversation kind of meandered around to what it was like when we were growing up. Of course, we both grew up quite a few years before you were growing up. During that time period, back in, the Stone Age. And
back in the dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs, yeah, of course. You didn't want to hit a dinosaur with your car. Man, that did terrible damage.
Oh, man.
But no, one of the things that I was noticing in a big, big way was how, when I was young, every single adult that I interacted with that I could remember, except for my parents in an intimate family situation, everybody else, and I don't think this is all that different today, it was all very surface. It was all very, they were hiding all the stuff that was going on, that was really going on. And so everything was fake.
Yeah, I hate that.
And that was my experience growing up. Everything was fake. And it's really confusing.
Yeah.
really confusing. I didn't know, I didn't understand what I was supposed to do with it.
Right, right.
There was certainly nobody teaching me.
Yeah, obviously.
There was nobody doing a podcast on the law of attraction to tell me what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't even any psychologist getting on saying, well, what's really going on here is people are actually hiding behind it, whatever. There was nothing like that. It just didn't exist.
Yeah.
There was Father Knows Best and Tom and Jerry, and that was about it. I mean,
Father Knows Best.
There really wasn't a whole lot.
Oh, my God. Oh, black and white. Oh, God.
I mean, there was Star Trek. That was a little bit different, but.
And that was it. All 3 channels. So.
That's right. Before when we got public television, but yes.
Woo, fancy. Oh my God.
Then we could see the day on Sesame Street.
Oh my God.
But I'm serious though, that I think it probably still exists today. I think it's less than it was in some ways and more than it was in others.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I feel like people hide behind masks and a lot of things are surface as opposed to people getting deeper and experiencing and expressing how they feel about certain things.
Yep. I agree with that.
I'm not one of them. I'm like, no, let's get to the nitty gritty right now. Let's open up and talk about it. Let's ask questions.
It wouldn't work doing a podcast if you didn't. I mean,
right.
It's required.
You can't have a podcast called The Surface and you just sit there and stare at each other like. Like, so what did you do today? Nothing.
Yeah, right.
What did you do today? 8 a.m. Nothing.
That sounds like a lot of the conversations I had with friends when I was a kid.
Yeah, see? That's not good.
That was exactly the conversation. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know.
Oh, God.
So there is that. There's that part of it.
Yeah.
One of the questions Louise and I were exploring was, we talk about how when we're very, very young, we still have that connection to source, to our inner being. Mm-hmm. And then we learn to ignore it. We're taught by our society to cut it off, and to pretend that it's not there, and to eventually get to the point where we don't feel it and sense it and hear it and all that anymore. When I was growing up, I'm pretty sure I lost that connection when I was around 1.
Dang.
Yeah. And one of the observations I made is, I think kids are maintaining that connection longer, maybe up to, I don't know, you tell me, I would say around age 5 or 6.
I would say around 5 or 6. I would say 4, actually.
4? Okay.
Yeah. Because I think once you get to that school age, it's gone. It's gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but to me, that's an encouragement. Because, I mean, in the course of a couple generations, we went from 1 to 4. That means it's expanding.
Right.
So 20 years from now, maybe it'll be up like around 7 or 8. But on the contrary,
I think it'll be longer than that because there are people that are trying to incorporate wellness and meditation and, stuff like that into the school curriculum nowadays.
Well, that would definitely be an improvement. So maybe it'll get to the point where we can actually, as a group of human beings, we are maintaining it regularly, right up until adulthood. That would be really cool.
Exactly.
But we also have the contrary, the other side of it. There is truth to the idea that when I grew up, it was a simpler time. Mm-hmm. Today is a much more complex time. The technology, the instant access, the instant notification, all that stuff creates. I mean, the best way I can describe it, now I'm not a millennial, but I've heard other millennials describe things this way, and I'm curious to know what you would say about it.
Okay.
But, it's like they're overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that comes to them.
Yes.
And in that overwhelmment, they're constantly trying to find out how to swim in this rapid current that's carrying them along. Mm-hmm. Yes, they do get how to use the technology better than the older generations do. But that doesn't help them to navigate it.
Right.
Is that you? Is that your experience of it?
It's not my experience so much as because I'm a go with the flow type of person. So I take it as it comes, but the generation younger than me is having a difficult time because because of the instant access, which is why we have things like cyberbullying and stuff like that, because people, their Twitter fingers get happy and they don't know how to express themselves, in real life. So they're just, putting people down over the internet thinking it's nothing. And then the next thing you know, the person you've been talking about has decided to kill themselves. So, you know what I mean? It's terrible in that way, but it's also good in the way in the sense of like, I don't know if you notice on Facebook, like for your birthday, you can, ask for donations to a charity.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, it's double-edged sword. So do with it what you will.
I think really, though, what it comes down to is how are we going to interact with it? How are we going to respond to it? Mm-hmm. I mean, as deliberate creator types pursuing law of attraction understanding, we're trying to learn how to better control how we react to given situations and how well we are able to receive what it is that we want to receive and to ignore and pay no attention to what we don't want to receive.
Right,
that's the skill we're essentially trying to learn. Well, that's really what the young millennials are trying to do with the technology. They're trying to decide, how do I handle this? How do I react to this stuff that's going on out there? That's coming into my face and seems to be, I can't get away from it all. Now, here's a little contrast for you, and you tell me what you think of it.
Okay.
When we are in source, when we're in, pre-physical, spiritual, non-physical realm.
Okay.
From everything that we're told, we get instant gratification, if you will. I mean, we get the thing that the modern society is looking for. We get the instant gratification because the moment we start putting thoughts out, we get feedback. It just right. There's no resistance going on there. Okay, so we could make an argument that what is actually happening here is that the need for instant gratification is it can be equally expressed as the need to reconnect to source.
That's true.
To regain that connection and to regain the benefit of having that quick response. Yeah.
Because that's what you get with the internet is the quick response.
Quick response, yeah.
Yeah.
What makes it challenging is in the non-physical world, from what I understand, there's not a whole lot of, I don't like this coming through. It's all, I like this. Whereas in this world, all of a sudden we're thrust into a realm where a whole bunch of, I don't like this comes through.
Right.
That's what throws us off. So it's almost like, what?
I was going to say, and people forgetting that you can unfollow, you can unlike, you can ignore those situations. But they're like, some people are like, no, I gotta watch this car crash and see what happens. So I'm going to keep the negative stuff in my life.
Yep, exactly. And in the course of doing that, we end up creating, I guess what I might call inappropriate boundaries or boundaries that don't work and produce the opposite result from what we're hoping for. And so now all of a sudden we find ourselves doing the one thing we didn't want to do and ourselves focusing on what we don't want.
Right.
Which is scary, especially if you're a little kid. When you're a little kid, you don't, what the heck's going on? I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Why am I inundated with all this stuff that I don't like? And of course, in that thought process, they attract more of what they don't like.
There's an instance where I don't know if it's still going on, but there, a couple of months ago, there was, this thing on YouTube that was, praying after kids, and it was called Momo. And it was this very scary, like, it wasn't really animated. I don't know. It was like claymation or something, but it was very scary to look at. And it had this, I don't know, have you seen The Grudge or like, what's that other movie? I have The Shining in my head, but that's not what it is.
Well, why don't we leave it that I probably haven't seen it? That way you
probably, knowing you. Okay. So
that's a safe bet for me.
The Ring. That was the movie I was thinking of.
Yeah. Well, the rule applies. I haven't seen it.
No, okay. So basically it was that type of character and it's really scary and it was preying on kids who were, you know, watching regular YouTube videos. It would pop up on your screen and it would say stuff like, if you tell your parents you've seen this, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to come in your room when you're sleeping. And it would scare the children so bad that they weren't telling their parents that they saw this. So finally, I think some kid was like, Mom, this showed up on my iPad. And a parent reported it, and it turned into this huge news thing, like, you know, don't click on Momo and beware of Momo and all this stuff. But that's creepy that someone would go around and do that and scare little children and be like, you know, don't tell anybody. But that's what happens. It's like, you don't want to talk about it. Now you're getting more of what you don't want. Now this thing keeps popping up. It's insane.
It is insane. But you know what? As you're describing it, I was realizing that what you're describing is the exact same thing that the scammer does. That's precisely what scammers do. And they get a high off of that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, that high is an energy stealing high. I don't know how to make my own energy build up, so I'm going to steal your energy. That's what the motivation is behind it. And I wondered about that for the longest time. Why is it that there are so many programmers, I ask myself, who are really good at programming, who will use their skills for evil, who will use it to try to steal people's money and to make them believe that their computer's been hacked and then hold them up for blackmail and all this stuff. Why would you even do that if you had these skills? And I realize it's because they don't know how to build their own energy.
Right.
That's exactly why they do it.
Yeah. They think it's easy money.
But the point is that they think it's easy money because they don't think that they can attract the money.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
They think the only way they can attract the money is by being deceptive.
Yep.
And deception is all about stealing energy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So it's a fascinating thing that we have developed. It's almost like it's an echo of the instant gratification culture.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like scamming is new. It's been around for generations.
Yeah, but they've upgraded their situation.
They have. Exactly. Yeah. It's like it's kept up with the times.
Yes, it has.
And in the process of being kept up with the times, it has morphed into this massive, massive craziness that goes on. I guess what we're really saying is it's fascinating to watch the law of attraction in action, even when, or perhaps especially when, it's focused on what we don't want.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the essence of politics. That's the essence of all drama, most entertainment, most music, most social media conversation.
Yep.
Most social interaction. I mean, it's all based on here's what I don't want.
Yeah. How easily we forget.
Oh, God, yes. And I bring it back once again to what we talked about earlier about the people who are posting in the social media about law of attraction or Neville Goddard or whatever. And I have this problem going on. I keep getting what I don't want. They don't understand how that is happening. Right. So that's why I reiterate, it's really important to help people understand not just what's happening, but the language of it.
Yeah.
If you don't understand the language of it, you can't understand what's happening. Like the first time that I truly got the idea that when you focus on what you lack, you get more of the lack.
Right.
The first time I got that, it was eye-opening.
Yeah.
Because now I finally understood why all these terrible things were happening.
Right.
I keep focusing on lack. Thinking that I'm focusing on what I want.
Yep. There's the trip.
Holy cow. That's an impressive insight. I mean, when Abraham gave us that one, that was worth all the money for the books. That was the whole, that right there. You focus on what you don't want and you think that it's what you want because of the way our language works. Our language works in terms of negation. And negation doesn't work where law of attraction is concerned, but it does work where the language is concerned.
Right.
Very confusing stuff. Yeah. Kevin's been really posting up a storm here. He says, social pollution throws me off my game, which causes my negativity. The only thing I'd point out there, Kevin, is that it's not causing your negativity.
No. You're causing your negativity by how you react to it.
Exactly. And that's the point. That's what we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes.
Yep.
That's it right there.
Mm-hmm.
He also says, I love you guys, your guys' energy, getting me up at 6 a.m. Dang. LOL. I'm glad we could contribute to your day. That's fabulous.
Well, wakey, rise and shaky, Kevin.
He says, I'm having a great day and it just started. Now that's the way to start a day.
There you go.
That kind of attitude.
With your daily dose of happy.
Daily dose of happy. That's it. So, cool. So thanks for sharing that, Kevin. That's really good stuff. But there it is. He wrapped it up in one little 3-post thing there about how it shows just how easily we buy into the idea that this negative stuff that's out there is stuff that's outside of our control.
Right.
And then when we do try to control it, we express what we're trying to control in the negative. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want this to happen. And then we don't understand why it continues to happen.
Yeah.
And then we put a lot of energy into it, which makes sure that it's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the part I want to go to next. Why do we put so much effort and energy into what we don't want?
I think it's just automatically programmed in ourselves that we think, okay, what I don't want to do is like, I don't want to do this today, but I have to, you know? So you automatically say it like that, where as opposed to you should say, I got to get this done today, you know? And I have to remind myself on the daily, the way I'm thinking, and like, you can't, in one way you can't control other people, but at the same time, you have to remember, like, you know what? I'm not going to let this happen. I'm going to say the positive of it. Mm-hmm. And it usually turns out for the better. So, all the time. You just got to remind yourself. It's like that story I was telling you about getting my steroid shot in my back, and how it's a very painful process. Yeah. But when I got there, I was thinking of you in the way you were teaching me about you know, speaking in the negative. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna law of attraction this thing. So how are we gonna fix this? I was like, 'cause this is gonna be literally a pain in the back. So, so I was like, all right, I was like, this is not gonna be painful. I was like, no, that's not right. I was like, so, and I went through like 3 other ones, and then I came up with this will be painless. And then I just kept saying that, and I loosened my grip. And I was like, I'm not going to hold my hands tight. I'm going to loosen my grip, and I'm going to breathe. And I'm just keep saying in my head, this is going to be painless. This is going to be painless. And it was painless. I didn't feel a thing. Good for you. Congratulations. Yeah. That's fabulous. Yeah. Well done. You also illustrated something really important there. Because very often we'll take the word painless. We'll say, well, but you're still focused on pain. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was like, it's still but you demonstrated that it's not true. Yeah. Because what really matters is how it felt, what the experience of it was. Right. You felt it as being good. You felt it as being free. Mm-hmm. You felt it as being healthy, as feeling good. Yes. You didn't think of it as painful. Yes. And that's what made the difference. Exactly. It wasn't the words. The words are not it. It's how you react to it. The words have feeling associated with them. Yes. But the feeling can be different from one person to the next. One person's painless can be different from another person's painless. One person's painless can be pain-oriented. Mm-hmm. Another person's painless can be no pain-oriented. Right. Yeah. That's a beautiful illustration. I like that. Oh, thanks. You know, I try. You do very well. Now, Susie has something. She wrote something out rather extensive here. I wanted to make sure I shared it. She said, in this 3D polarity existence, the contrast initiates free will choice. Not as a negative, but as a PowerPoint of creativity. Mm-hmm. Understanding and using law of attraction helps guide us to a higher frequency perspective so that the choices begin to bring us to a higher dimensional framework for life. Mm-hmm. It will automatically create a new world where we use law of attraction for the common good. Mm-hmm. That's good stuff. That's true. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, that's also a great example of how you have to know the language. Yeah. There's a lot of what's the word? It's the English word for phrasing that doesn't have literal meaning, but we use the phrase to mean something else.
I can't think what that's called. Well, whatever that thing is, there's a lot of that going on there, is what I'm saying.
Are you talking about an innuendo?
It's like an, but it's not that specific.
Okay.
No, it's a kind. It's a word like. It's usually a phrase, and the phrase has. Let's see. What's an example of it? An example of it would be. I can't think of an example. I can even like half see the word in front of me. Oh my goodness. It's an example of, what would be an example? Well, give me like a common phrase that gets used by millennials a lot.
By millennials. I don't know about millennials, but you know what I use a lot? Catch-22.
Catch-22. Okay. Now, the words catch-22 don't actually mean anything.
Right.
Okay. But if you understand the reference point.
Yep.
There's a reference going on there. So you have to understand the symbolic or the metaphorical meaning of the phrase. And it literally has nothing to do with the words themselves.
Yeah.
That's whatever that word is that I'm trying to think of, that's what it means. It means that we have language forms that don't actually mean what the words say.
And that's hard for people who are coming into our country and trying to learn our language.
Oh, no kidding.
We've got a whole second language that you got to learn. Like
Exactly. So, like with what Susie wrote, things like polarity existence, understanding a higher frequency perspective. If you don't know what that is, you're lost.
Well, that in the way she wrote it makes me feel like let's say I didn't know anything about anything. So I'm thinking, okay, so I got to look for contrast in order to get to a higher place. That's what it says to me. So,
and I'm not ragging at what Susie wrote, because what she wrote was great. It was wonderful. It just illustrates really well how important it is for us to find ways to express this stuff that anybody can understand without knowing the language.
Right.
That's the key right there. That's how we spread it. I mean, now it will happen. It does happen automatically.
Yeah.
Because the more that we focus on what we want,
right,
the more we tend to get what we want. So the more thoughts we get, the more ways of expressing things about what we want tend to come into our experience. So it does take care of itself.
Right.
But it's also helpful, I think, to be mindful. And that's what I'm trying to point out. It's important to be mindful about the phrasing that we use.
Yes.
Because when we're mindful about the phrasing, it's easier for other people to understand what we're talking about, particularly people who don't know law of attraction.
Yeah.
So, that was a long-winded way of getting to that point.
We always go around the mulberry bush.
We do. And I'm sure as soon as this podcast is over, I'm going to say to myself, that's what the word is.
That's when it comes to you.
Oh, crazy. It's haunting me right now. It's just like wandering around in my head. It's like, I'm teasing you for a bit.
Yep.
Oh, well. But no, thanks for sharing that, Susie. That was really, really good. I agree with you.
Yes, it was. Yes.
And, she also says there is and are lots of ahas that come through this type of language. It's important to expand our consciousness. Yeah, well, that's it. So we do have to learn the language. We do have to learn it.
Right.
But it also helps to explain to people how the language works.
Yes.
I mean, that's what happens with kids growing up, right? Kids teach each other the language.
Yeah.
They don't even do it consciously.
Right.
I mean, it's just part of how you interact with a friend.
Yeah, that's just how it is.
Yeah. This means this, that means that. Oh, okay. I got it.
Yeah. I feel bad for the parents today that are trying to learn teenage lingo.
No, jeez.
It has no rhyme or reason. At least back in my day, like you said something, it made sense. Well, I don't know, maybe because it made sense to me because I wasn't a teenager back then. So I'm sure the teenagers today would say the same thing. But I had this conversation with someone who was younger than me. This guy my mom was dating, his son would always say something, and he was like, "Oh, that's OD," and I was like, "What does OD stand for?" And he couldn't tell me. I figured out what it was, but I was like, but the fact that you are saying it over and over and over and using it in different sentences and situations, and you don't even know what it means.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Get it together.
Well, when we're working on the script for the audio play, the grass is greener. You went through and took my stuff, which needed to be done, needed to be reworked into younger language.
Yeah.
And some of the times you would write stuff and I'd say, what on earth does that mean? I don't understand.
It's funny because as I'm typing, I go, yeah, Walt's going to call me about this.
Which is also what PJ pointed out to us. My sister, PJ, worked with us a little bit on the script, giving us some ideas on how to improve it. And one of the things she pointed out was when you use a particular idiom. That's the word. Idiom.
Oh, look at you!
That's the one I did it before the end of the show.
Yay!
When you come up with an idiom that people don't understand, you have to tie it into the context in some way so that people who have never heard that particular idiom before can relate to it.
Still gonna get it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's absolutely it. That's how people are taught the language contextually. They're taught it just by having parallels drawn during the conversation. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, that's what we got to do. We got, besides going through and throwing the hooks in and finding ways to hook stuff into the script that we have, we also have to go take a look at the idioms that are in there and see have we explained it contextually so that anybody can understand what the heck's going on.
Yeah, I think I did try and do that. I don't know how much of it because it's hard for me because I know what I'm talking about, so I don't.
Well, it's probably my job more than anything else.
Yeah, because I can't think. Yeah. Does somebody know what I mean? You know, is this too out of the box that I have to re-explain?
The thing that I have to remind myself of is PJ was pointing out that you have to really do it blatantly. You have to make it really, really clear. Right. And I have a tendency to be able to infer easily. And so I have to remind myself not everybody can infer easily.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to even look at what I'm looking at with a critical eye. Like, okay, no, be really harsh here. What is it that this is actually saying? Is this clear? But without losing the thread of, oh my God, this drama is going on.
Right. Because you don't want a person to stop and go, oh, that happened, but wait, what did she say?
Yes, right.
You're going to lose the context of what's going on here.
Exactly.
You're losing the momentum of the drama.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big part of what PJ was telling us, keeping that momentum going, which we knew, I think. I think you knew that too. Yeah. But it really is important when you're trying to write something like that. Mm-hmm. And I carry that over to just our everyday lives. Mm-hmm. We are really good in our everyday lives at carrying drama along.
Oh, yeah.
So why is it so difficult to write it?
It's not for me. But that's because I have such an extensive television background. So
yes, that's true. Spoiler alert. Right.
Yeah. Okay. It's like drama is a part of my day. So, it's easy for me. But you spend your days trying to avoid it. So
I don't try to avoid it. I try to change my mind about it.
Yeah. Well,
I did try to avoid it. That was certainly an early motivation for me. But now I just try not to even pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. Like I don't have to try it. I'm literally not interested. Yeah. We'll sit down at dinner. We usually sit in front of the television, to watch something, and she'll turn something on. I guarantee, especially if it's something we've seen before, within 5 minutes, I'm looking over at her board. Because I just have no interest in all that drama that's going on. Yeah. It's just not interesting to me. So I don't know. Does that make me a bad person? I don't know.
No, it doesn't. Makes you a lame person, but not a lame bad person.
No, okay. Okay, well now I'm really showing my age. All right.
No, because Louise is the same age as you and she's cool. So age is not an excuse.
Well, I'm sure she'll be glad to know that she's cool. Oh boy, it's crazy though. The society we live in, and I don't care where you are on the planet, because there are different cultures all over the planet. Mm-hmm. I don't care which one you're in. This phrase applies. The society we live in is crazy.
Yep. Facts.
Any culture, anywhere around the world is crazy.
Yep.
Because we keep focusing on what we don't want.
Yep.
I don't want any more of what I'm focusing on right now, but boy, am I interested in. But I don't want it, but I'm interested in. But boy, I don't want it. You know, it's like, come on, make up your mind. What do you want?
You can, for example, you can take the last election, and so many people were like, I don't know who I'm voting for, but I don't want Trump. And look what we got. This is what you're doing, people.
That's true. Yeah. Of course, the people who wanted Trump, they were focusing on Trump.
Yeah,
they were saying, I got Trump.
It was law of attraction all the way around.
It really was. Yeah. And we had a guy who was running for office who understood thoroughly how propaganda works.
Yes. Yes.
And everything was about how angry he was and how all the things he was rejecting and all the things that he was bad-mouthing and so forth. And that became the entire news cycle.
Yep.
He knew how to dominate the news cycle, and he got exactly what he wanted, domination of the news cycle.
Yep.
You know, when you get that, the conversation goes your way. Even if it's dysfunctional, it still goes your way.
Yep.
So, yeah, a lot of expertise going on there. And I think that's probably the thing I want to end up on today. Kind of noticing that we are all expert creators. We're expert, deliberate creators. We don't give ourselves a lot of credit for it.
Right.
Most people don't even know what the phrase means.
Right.
Be a deliberate creator. But, you know, even when you explain it to them, I think most people feel powerless.
Yeah.
The victimhood the victimhood stance.
Yeah.
And the belief that everything is outside of our control, but it really isn't. It really isn't. Boy, we just demonstrate over and over and over again just how good we are at creating. And probably the best example of that in anyone's life is anyone can draw a slice of their life and draw this conclusion. They can look at all the things that went wrong. And for some people, it's a long string of things that went wrong. And if we can recognize, I was focusing on that, and I was focusing on that, and I was focusing on that.
Yeah.
Then we say, oh my God, I'm much more powerful than I thought I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look what I created. I mean, it wasn't what I wanted at all, but holy cow, I'm just really good at this stuff.
Yeah, I think people forget that negative or positive, you're creating it.
Yeah.
They feel like it's only working if it's positive. And if it's negative, then something's wrong and it's not working. No, it's working both ways. You're creating it.
I think it's also a feeling that it should only work when it's positive.
Right, right.
You know, like it's broken if it works with a negative.
Yeah, yeah.
There's something wrong. That's not the way things are supposed to work. Well, good morning. Wake up call. Yes, it actually is the way things are supposed to work. Surprise. Oh my. I should probably get our promos in before we were done, shouldn't I? So
yes, you should.
I mean, you can always tell every time that we do one of these shows how crazy things get, and sometimes they get really intellectual. Sometimes we're exploring, interviews with people. That gets kind of fun. All kinds of crazy stuff happens, and all kinds of good stuff happens here on the podcast. So you don't want to miss any of it. Become a subscriber. That's how you get every single episode coming right to your smartphone. And by the way, Alex, since we went to the one a day instead of two a day podcast, the numbers of listeners per episode has increased. Yeah. Yeah. So we're actually holding back a little bit, and people are saying, I want more. I want more.
And actually, I don't know if you noticed, but our YouTube subscribers have gone up.
Yes, they have. Yeah. It would even help if we were live streaming to YouTube.
Right, it would.
That's going to happen pretty soon.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
But in order to subscribe, make sure that you, first of all, you have to subscribe. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Go to the homepage of the website, loatoday.net. And right at the top, you'll see a great big graphic icon that says, click here for your device. And you click there for your device, and it walks you right through the process of subscribing, and then you become a subscriber. And once you subscribe, make sure that you're sharing so that other people know about it. And also, start following us on YouTube. Even though we don't have the live stream working there yet, it's going to be fixed in the next few days. It's just a question of when. And once it is, then you'll want to be seeing all the video coming through, because that's, especially if you're a live stream member of the audience, that's where you're going to be finding us once we get it fixed. And now there's a little trick you have to know that's a little bit different from subscribing on Facebook or subscribing to a podcast or whatever. And you know better than I do how to explain the little bell trick. So what's the trick with the bell?
Okay, so once you hit subscribe to our LOA podcast videos, there's a little tiny bell right next to the subscribe button, and you click on that, and it'll notify you every time that we're doing an episode.
That's really cool.
Yeah, goes straight to your device.
By the way, I know that it works. And the reason I don't know that it works is that I've been trying to test fixing this live stream, and occasionally I'll get an actual live stream that will go, and boom, I'll see somebody viewing it, and I'll say, well, wait a minute, that was not intended, but it works.
That was me.
That was you. Oh, okay.
Because I was like, what is he testing?
So this bell thing actually does work. It's a good thing.
It does.
It's very effective.
Even my mom was like, what's Walt doing? Were you guys on today? I got notifications, but they kept disappearing.
That's what I figured out. I really should be testing to a different channel, but.
But how are you going to know?
Well, that's how I found out.
Exactly.
Instant feedback. That's what we were talking about all show long. I got instant feedback. What am I going to do with it? I could have gotten all upset. Instead, I said, no, I'm just going to change the channel. So with that happy thought in mind, thank you, Alyx. This has
You're
been
welcome.
fun. It's always kind of sad when Joel isn't there, but boy, we had a good time today anyway.
We muddle along.
We do very, very nicely. And thank you to those who were able to find the live stream audience. I mean, we're glad to have you. I'm hoping that we're going to get it fixed so that more and more people can consistently find us. That's going to happen really soon. So stay with us on that. And that's about it. So we'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.